Anyway, the fourth one was at Misty Creek. And after I came back and to Bentry Club, the pro had already called him and said, well, she'd won, and they said, oh, number 4, et cetera, et cetera. Jack had never had one. Had never had one, and he wanted one so badly. And so I decided I wasn't going to tell him. So, and I'm not a good liar. My mom always said, no lie, because it comes across on your forehead. So I didn't look at him, and he said, well, what went on today? And I said, well, not much, the same old thing, you know. He had to make good shots. Yeah, I had a couple good shots. I was fixing our drinks. And he said, did you see it go in the hole? And I said, what do you mean? He said, I said, what are you talking about? He said, they called me from the pro shop and told me that you just had your 4th one. And of course then it was okay. But I just hated to tell him, you know. I was born April 4th, 1929 in Morgantown, West Virginia. Oldest of 3 children. And I had a marvelous childhood. My brother accuses me to this day that I was a bully, that I'd knock him down and do things, and I never would do that. But he has pictures that shows me that I knocked him down. Well, I'm sure it was an accident, and or else he got in my way. I don't know what to. My first year of teaching, I taught in Point Marion, Pennsylvania, which is not too far. And but it was snowing, and I could drive in the snow, but my mom decided that he should drive me to work to teach. And he did, and it was early in the morning, the roads were slippery, and I was comfortable. I don't know about him, but it made my mom happy. And she was widowed. My dad died when he was 43, and she tried to run the construction company by herself. And she was a smart lady, but it was too much for her. So she sold the company, and I can't remember the day he died. The funeral director sent cars to pick up the three children, and I missed the call somehow or other. So they told me to come home immediately, and I rode the local bus. As I passed the house, there was a black wreath on the door and a hearse in the driveway, and so I had no idea what was going on. And then, of course, I later found out. But it's a memory that I'll always remember as a kid. Oh dear. Anyway.
Okay. You want to take a break? So how old were you when your dad died?
I was 14.
That's so hard. That's so hard. How did you handle that?
I don't know. I guess I handled it well. I had a good mother, and she was funny. Even when I became engaged to Jack, I still had to be home at 11 o'clock. And, and she was there waiting, and I thought, oh my God, when I get married, I wonder if she'll still be waiting for me. When we had a rehearsal dinner for our wedding, and I'd been teaching all day, and I was exhausted, but I was hurrying back to home to Anchors to get dressed to go to the rehearsal and then dinner, et cetera, et cetera. So I was speeding, and the light came on behind me. He pulled me over, and he said, young lady, you know you're speeding. I said, yes, I know, because, and then I started to cry, just because, I was so tired, and I'd never seen a policeman before. And so I went through the whole sequence, and so you go ahead and go home. I'm gonna follow you home, so make sure you get there okay, which he did. And so I pulled in the driveway, and the police car behind me, and my mother was standing at the door, and she came out and she said, "What in the did you do now?" And I mean, it's just one of those, okay, we got through it, but it's just one of those funny things that happen. I actually met Jack, was on the stage, we both were on the stage crew. He was painting flats and scenery and stuff. And I was doing some acting, so I was in the front. That's when he asked me for a date, and I said, well, I can't because I'm pinned to Tom. And he said, well, I've got 2 tickets to a basketball game. And he said, would you like to go with me? I said, I can't, I'm pinned. So he pulled out that silver dollar, and I thought, So I went to the basketball game, and the next day, Tom didn't like it, so he wanted his pin back. So I gave his pin back. In high school, it's a club pin. Later, when we got to college, and he pinned me again, it was full of jewels and stuff. And that was like a pre-engagement ring. And because he was in a fraternity and I was in a sorority, the fraternity had to come down and sing to me on the front porch. And he had to come up and give me roses and kiss me in front of all his fraternity brothers. And as he kissed me, he said, "Don't ever do this to me again." The music started, and Tom said to me, "You're shaking." And I said, "Well, I'm scared. I've never done this before." He told me a joke. It was not dirty, but it was off color a little. And I just reminded him of this not too long ago. And so I started to laugh, and afterwards we had the reception at the country club, and people kept saying, "You were just radiant. You were just smiling the whole way down." And I never told anybody why I was smiling. Well, we were married in 51, and then he went overseas in 52 to 54. We had no children, obviously, then. And after he came back, we had our first son, and we had a daughter, and then we had a son, and then a daughter. John, the first, was born, and John's the first, and Sue, John was born in Pittsburgh. Sue and Dave were born in Wheeling, West Virginia, where Jack was transferred at one time. And then Ann was born in Pittsburgh. Again, we were back that way. We have 6 grandchildren. Talk to me, they call, I'm concerned, always remember every single date. They're all smart kids, but they're all smart, but they all remember the old broad. And they all know I'm crazy and put up with my nonsense. The red glasses were my mom's. This is from Ireland, when I was in Ireland, with Sue and Rex. And all right, here's a couple.
Who taught you how to paint like that? Who taught you how to paint like this?
That lady who was just here leaving?
Yeah.
She taught me how to do that. Yeah.
Oh.
And this is of course all beads. One of these, is my very favorite. Of course, it would be the bottom one.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Mm-hmm. Why is that your favorite?
It's simple, it's plain. Thought it might be fun to show you some photos, a little of my wonderful life. I had a really happy childhood and a super mother and dad, and a brother Tom and a sister Sissy. We had at our home a tennis court, a playground with slides and merry-go-round and all that stuff. I had a blessed marriage with Jack and 4 beautiful children and 6 outstanding grandchildren. In my twilight years, I've had a blessed life and much happiness. Trips to Ireland, trips to celebrate my 90th birthday, and trips to visit my children. I have looked through hundreds of photos, which was fun and full of memories. Do hope I didn't miss anything or anybody. If I did, forgive me. I hope you have enjoyed my fabulous life. I am having a good life. This is one of my favorites. And these come also, I dry flowers when I get bouquets from people. And then I dry the flowers. I have a box full of dried flowers in envelopes. I will show you that. It is ridiculous. It's big. Yeah, but it's fun to do. It's fun to do.